the final paragraph. In conclusion, being exploited or struggling with academic grades far outweighs any of the minor benefits that could result from children being involved in work experience. So the conclusion is restating which side we are mainly supporting. So we've mentioned the exploitation at work that children can experience. We've mentioned that there are problems with their academic performance. And we've got far outweighs. You don't need to use the word far, but it does stress an opinion. It far outweighs any of the minor, so we've repeated again that these are basic benefits and they're not so important. And then we've repeated the topic, which is children being involved in work experience. Now, the conclusion is one sentence. It's about 26 words, which is not long, but it's enough, and that's all you need to get even a band score 9. So now, before we look at the tips and we review the vocabulary, there is something else I'd like to look at. And the other point that I want to review with you relates to the third model essay that comes with this lesson. You will find attached to the lesson another model essay which is called the Alternative Outweigh Model Essay. And this is the model essay for when we agree that the advantages outweigh the disadvantages. So the opposite opinion. And what I want to do is I want to quickly take a look at this essay and show you how it changes when we support the other side, the advantages. Now, the introduction is quite easy to do. The background statement is the same, and the thesis statement presents that you support the advantages instead of the disadvantages. But it's the body paragraphs I want to look at. So what I want to do now is take a look at body paragraph number 1 for the other view. So let's do that now. So let's see body paragraph number 1 to support the advantages. Despite the drawbacks below, I believe the benefits gained by children doing work experience are extremely useful for their future. Firstly, children can develop an understanding of the value of money. This is a crucial lesson to learn as it teaches them not to waste money by realising the amount of money needed to earn it. Secondly, children take their first steps in learning how to save and manage money. Take older children, for instance, who have a part-time job in order to save up for something they would otherwise be unable to afford. Learning money management is an essential skill later in life when they earn salaries and have bills to pay. So let's look at some of the changes that had to be made to support the advantages. Well, obviously the topic sentence is the main change. The topic sentence can't begin with nevertheless or however, because this is the first body paragraph. There's no information before to contrast with. So we can't use that to start our paragraph. But we can say, despite the drawbacks below. And if you want to make your opinion even clearer, you could put despite the minimal drawbacks below. And that would be one way to show that we don't think the drawbacks are very important. You can see we've got I believe the benefits gained. So again, stressing our opinion. We've got extremely useful. Extremely gives a very strong opinion. Very. So very useful to have. Another difference is that we've added a little bit more opinion in. This is subtly done, which means it's not that obvious. It's just changing the odd word to make the argument stronger. So you can see here we've talked about this is a crucial lesson. Again, it means very important. Or further down here, we've got this is an essential skill. Very important. So it's just small changes. I've also changed this sentence here to show you another way to give the same example by changing the grammar a little bit. But if we look at the similarities, we've got the same advantages and the same supporting points, more or less. And the linking devices that we use, firstly, secondly, are also the same. So those are the changes and those are the things that stay the same. let's have a look now at the other body paragraph, and let's have a look how we can write the disadvantages when we don't think they are so important. And that's quite difficult to write because obviously children being exploited and put in dangerous situations is a very serious problem. So we have to show that it's still not important. So let's have a look at how to do that. The disadvantages. Admittedly, there are some issues involved when children do paid work. One problem is that it might expose them to exploitation through slave labour. For example, in some developing countries, children are made to work full-time, but due to their age are not protected by law. However, this situation is rare, only happening in certain countries. Another negative aspect is that the time children spend working could prevent them from focusing on their schoolwork. Having a good education is the key to a successful future. So if work interferes with their academic performance, this can be a problem. So let's have a look at how this body paragraph differs from the previous essay when we had the disadvantages. Well, the topic sentence is different. We start with admittedly, because again, this is the side that we think is less important. The topic sentence says there are some issues involved. So we are showing the examiner that we're talking about the disadvantages. And we haven't said minor issues or basic issues. We've said some. Now, there's a reason for that. If you use the word minor, it's because you're saying that they really are not serious. But if you look at the examples we've got for the disadvantages, we've got exploitation through slave labour. It's not possible for us to say that this is not a serious issue. So therefore we cannot use the word minor or basic for this body paragraph. It's very important that you do use the right language which reflects the ideas that you're using. So instead we've just got some issues. And then we've got involved when children do paid work. Again, we're introducing the topic, the subject of this paragraph. So it's about the disadvantages, it's about children doing paid work, and admittedly shows that this is the side we think is less important. Now, looking at the other linking, we've got one problem, another negative aspect. So again, the examiner can see very clearly that we've got two disadvantages in this paragraph. The other change that we've got is with grammar. Now, what we've done is saying that one problem is that it might expose them to. And saying might means that there is a possibility this won't happen. So changing it and using probability for your grammar is very important because it understates these ideas and it shows that really they are less important because we don't know if they will happen or not. So it might expose them to exploitation. Another example is that the time children spend working could prevent them from. And again, this is using probability. It could. We don't know if it will or not. So use the grammar to help you as well. So let's carry on. So the idea of exploitation. We've got the same example, which is for example, in some developing countries, children are made to work full-time, but due to their age are not protected by law. So that's the same supporting point, but I've added another sentence. And the reason is that, as I said, this is a serious problem. Slave labour is a terrible issue worldwide. So we do need to show the reason that we're not supporting the disadvantages, because we're actually supporting the advantages in this one. So we've got, however, this situation is rare, which means it doesn't happen often. And we've got only happening in certain countries. So it only happens sometimes, occasionally, and it only happens in particular countries, not all countries. And this is the sentence that really explains why we don't think the disadvantages are so important. So remember, it's not about just your ideas, it's about how you present them. And for the outweigh essay, it's about how you present your ideas to support your opinion. So that is the sentence that truly supports our opinion. And then we carry on. We've got another negative aspect, is that the time children spend working could prevent them from focusing on their schoolwork. And we've got, it's the key to a successful future. So if it interferes with their academic performance, it could be a problem. But again, we've got if it interferes, not that it will interfere, but maybe it will interfere. So you can see that there are some differences with this body paragraph, but they're small differences. Small, but very important for a high band score. So if you look at the model essay, the alternative model, and you look at the conclusion, which is the last paragraph, you see that it contains the opinion restated. So that is the full model essay when we agree with the advantages rather than the disadvantages. Right, so those are all the essays. Now it's time to review tips and then vocabulary.